Okay, good morning. We're up to Nun Tes Amid Beis. I'm in the middle of a sugi of different cases, halacha l'maisa of yayin that had contact with a guy. There are different possibilities. Mamish the guy did avoid the Zorah, mamish asabana. It's stam yainam, it's in the rishus of a guy, it's asabana. If it's a Jew's wine that a guy touched, it's asabana. You can't go ahead and have enough from it. And we're going through different cases because we see this sometimes the different addendums which would permit it for hana, and even to some extent even make it muta b'shtia. So we're up to the case on Nun Tesamid Beis. Hahi chavita de chamra. There was this barrel of wine, the shtaka lebarza, and they took out the spigot. So again, I'm having trouble picturing it totally. Picture a barrel lying vertical. You have a hole that a spigot was in it, and you pull it out. Now there's a thickness to the wall of the barrel, and now the guy took his hand and put it on the opening of the barrel to stop the wine from flowing out. What's the din of the wine in the barrel? That's the Gemara Shaila. Idre, he jumped, and he went ahead and he put his hand over what? So the Zicha touched the wine that was in that area, in that hollow space where the spigot was, in the thickness of the barrel. Amra Papa, Kol de lahade barza chamra asa. Rashi, Kiluach hasamich lenekev, the flow that's next to the hole, asa b'shtia, v'loi bahana. It'll be asa to drink and not bahana. Shari ein kan shichshach. What's Rashi l'shitasa? Guys, remember we went through the Shitas Rashi yesterday. In order to make yayin nesech, what do you have to do? You have to shake it. He put his hand over it. He's not shaking it, so he just touched it. So it's asa b'shtia, but it'll be mutta bahana. This is Rashi shita l'shitasai. Shehanekev tsar, the nekev is what is small. He's not able to get in there in order to go ahead and shake it. So Rapap is saying that anything that's connected the hole would be asa to drink, but it would be mutabana with shitas Rashi. The idach and all the rest of the barrel, shari, you'll be able to drink. All the rest of the barrel you'll be able to drink. Says Rashi, why? The ksavet stadim lav chibur le'asar kalayayin. Guys, outside. In physical mitzias, all this wine is connected. We could view it as all connected. The guy is touching the wine over here. It goes into the barrel, and now you have a whole barrel full of wine. So all the wine is one substance, and it should be usher. We're not viewing it like that. We're viewing it as you're touching over here, but the sides over here and over here, all the sides, there's no chibur. The chibur is only connected the barrel, the hole in the barrel, and only limited to the thickness of the barrel. That's the place of the spigot. But anything beyond that we'll view physically if there's the physical walls over there. And since there's physical walls over there, there's not a chibur to the wine that he's touching. Af b'shtir, Rashi says, the ksavet stadin, sides, lav chibur. Sides are not a chibur. Okay. That's one way to learn. A papa has a different way to learn. Vika di amri, amra papa, adha barsa chamra aser, v'idach shari. Okay, viewing a barrel, guys, viewing the barrel like this, and this being the hole. So anything above the hole, we view it as a chibur, because gravity would put it and would come out the hole. But anything below the hole, which is not going to come out as a result of the hole, that would be mutta. So according to the first shot, only keneged where my hand is, but everything else would be mutta, b'shtia. And even over here, it's only asa b'shtia, but mutta b'hana. According to the second lashon, we have a fictitious line drawn between the holes and the vertically, and that's horizontally. Horizontally, and anything above here would be asa, and anything below there would be mutta.
Rabbi, I think you'd let gravity take all that stuff out. You wouldn't have to draw a line. You just let it flow out. And when it stops flowing out, you're good. You're good to go.
Exactly. I just for exactly right. That's for purposes. I just drew that line. But gravity. That's the whole word over here. Gravity makes it a chibur. Gravity makes it a connection. Now, Rav Yemer kit hanoi says Rav Yemer. This is like a machloikis tanoim. Chavius. Now this is the Inyan truma. Fellas, a full yoim we're familiar with is someone who went to the mikvah. He's waiting for Her Shemesh to complete his his Tyra process. He's mutter to eat maisa. He's asa to eat truma if it's a kayin. And not only that, if he touches a truma, he'll be metame. We'll say it's full yoin. A sheni can be metama truma. So here's a case of it's full yoin. And chavias shenakva, a chavias that gets a hole in it, beimi pia, whether it's in the mouth, beimi shalel, the bottom, beimi tzideha, v'naga by full yoin, tameya. It's all tummy, the whole thing. We'll view it as one big thing. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, mi pia mishaleh tameya, mitzideha tahira, mikan. So this shita that from the sides is permitted will be the shita of Rabbi Yehuda. I'm not exactly sure of how visualizing the case, but the shita that we need is the last shita Rabbi Yehuda, and he said mitzidu ritar. So our Mishnah, the way we're learning pshat in case of Rav Papa, that the sides will be mutter. That's the shita of Rabbi Yehuda. That would be the shita of Rabbi Yehuda. Let's take a stab at it, guys. Let's see Rashi. Nikva mipiha. Haya v'chol hayayin shelamata. Since all the wine that's below the mouth, nase basis le'elyoin, becomes a base for the upper wine. Have a chibur. It's considered a chibur. Umishuleh hanami. And even if the hole is on the bottom, Hayel v'chol hayayin nimshach achar nekev. All the wine will go down out that hole. Have a chibur. So using Kenny's gravity model makes a lot of sense. If your hole's at the top is, we'll view the whole thing as being connected to the top. If it's on the bottom, we'll view everything connected to that. Avalneke mitzida, but the sides tahira, mikan on the sides. Kira papa, like Rav Papa, that he said that the sides are mutter. Rabbanan less lahu the Rav Papa, they disagree. Hilkach less lahilchas kavasayu. The lech is not like Rav Papa. V'kulu asa b'shtiu mutter bahana. So in our case, fellas, guys, the case at hand that Rav Papa wanted to tie into the following, right, guys? What did Rav Papa want to say? Rav Papa wanted to say if the guy went ahead, stopped it, that only over here it's asa b'shtia, but mutter bahana, and this will be mutter. The answer is no. The whole thing would be asa b'shtia, but mutter bahana. Then in other words, the halacha is not like Rav Papa. Well, because with the halachas with the Tanakama versus the Rabbi Yehuda, the Tanakama is the majority. The majority would win, and therefore the tzedadim is the chibur. And once the guy touches the hole of the spigot, all the wine in there will be connected. However, since he's not meshach sheikh the wine, it's not asa bahana. It's only what asa b'shtia. That would be guys. Nice with Rashi shita from yesterday, putting it all together. Very good. Amra Papa, Oibik Yechavim Adana. Oibik Yechavim is on, he is doing the pouring. The Yisrael Akuba, and the Yisrael is holding the cup. Chamra Asa. In that case, what? The wine will be Asa, right? He's pouring the wine, it will be Asa. My timer. Ki Kaasi, Mikoyach Kechavim Kaasi. Because when the wine comes in, it's coming in, what? Mikoyach, the Oibik Yechavim. Rashi says, Chamra Asa. Bahana, the Hainu Nami Yain Shemazgo Evikechavim, the Koichehu, Basrina Le Mishum Lech Lech Amrinon. Right, we say to the Nazir, go around the Kerem. We say to the Nazir, go around the Kerem. So again, the guy is pouring the wine, it's going into the cup held by the Jew. The wine comes in Mikoyach the guy. We had cases before when it's the Koyach of the guy, we say Lech Lech, I mean in the Nazir, it's going to be Asa Bahana. Conversely, Yisrael Adana, if the Yisrael is pouring the wine, and the guy is holding the kais, then chamra shari, it's going to go ahead and be, it's going to be mutter. However, the mitzadei tzedude, if the guy adjusts the cup, he moves the cup back and forth, then asa, it would be asa. Rashi, if you come mitzadei, that's tzedude lekuba. If the guy is moving the cup that the Jew is pouring into, chamra asa mishum de mekarkesh le lechamra, because he's going ahead and shaking the wine. Ubekuva we're dealing with a full cup. Dilma naga, maybe he's going to touch it. Lishnachrina, afilu chaseir nami, kivin the mekarkesh bekavona, havele koichay bekavona, v'yasa b'shtia. Okay, so either if it's full, we're worried he's going to touch it, and if it's half, we're mekarkesh bekavona, then it's going to be asa b'shtia. So that's the case. Amra Papa, hayav gechavim the dori zika, he's carrying a zika, a leather flask of wine, and the Yisrael achareha, and Yisrael is following him. While we have the Yisrael following him, we can be assured that he's not opening up the flask, the leather flask, and touching it. Okay, so we know for sure over here, it's the judgment will be based upon what he's doing to the wine, but without touching the wine, because there's a Jew following him, and there's no way he could touch the wine. Malya, if it's a full cast, shari, because he can't go ahead and shake it, since the volume of the wine is taking up the volume of the leather casing. There's no place for the wine to go shuckle back and forth. The mela, it's going to be permitted. The loy mekarkesh. However, chasera, if it's the wine, it's not full, it's half full, and gives area for it to shake back and forth, then asa, because still in mekarkesh. Perhaps somebody's going to go ahead and be mekarkesh. That's by a flask. Kuba, what about a cup? Malya, if it's full cup and he's carrying it to go, then aser, it's going to be aser. Dilma naga. Chasera, but if it's chasa shari, the loy naga, says Rashi. Kuba chasera shari. There ain't kirkush bekli pesuach. There's no halacha of kirkush in a kli that's open. V'afgam the chidari law efshel beloy kirkush. When he's carrying it, right? When he's carrying it, it's not possible for not to shake back and forth. I have visions of Heshi carrying borscht in the lake house and it dripping down his back. Because guys, you cannot imagine how borscht, no matter how hard, Lenny's laughing, how hard you tried, that borscht, it just like, it had a mind of its own. It was just like, I remember Heshi. I don't know, chicken soup stayed, but I don't know, borscht.
It's served regardless. I don't care where it's spilled. It was served as is.
Okay, anyway, it had a certain consistency. When you carried it, it would shuckle back and forth. So that shuckling back and forth is not considered kirkush. Why? You don't want that shuckling. You want it to stay in the bowl. You don't want it overflowing the bowl. So in other words, whatever shaking takes place, you don't want that shaking to take place. Okay, so Geshmak. Guys, Rashi is telling us the difference between carrying a half-filled flask of leather that's closed and a half-filled cup of wine. In both cases, they're shaking back and forth, right? By the cup, you don't want it shaking back and forth. You want it to stay there. So it's a koichai shalei b'kavana. Koichai shalei b'kavana is muta. Mashen came when it's in the flask, you don't have to worry about it spilling. Then he'll go ahead. Well, it'll be menasech through. He'll have a mind to menasech. So that's the shita. One more time. Amra Papa. The Dori Zika. He's carrying a flask again, a flask canteen. That's good. A flask canteen of leather because of Yisrael Achareha, and they can't open it up. Mal Yashari, because there's no kirkush whatsoever. There's no shaking. The lay mekarkesh. Chasera asra. Dilma mekarkesh. Right. And Kuba Malya Asa, he may touch it. Dilma Naga. Chasera Shari Loy Naga. So why are we worried about kirkush? Guys, again, when it's half full, you're not worried about touching. Why are we worried about kirkush? So Rashi answers that question, right? Since you want it to be in the cup, you don't want it falling out of the cup. Whatever falls out of the cup is a koichai shlei b'kavana versus what? When it's in the closed flask that's half full, you have no problem with it shaking back and forth. And therefore you have a problem. Ravashi Amazika bein Malya bein Chas Shari. Even Malya, according to Rav Ashi, is a makel. Even the half-filled leather flask of wine will be muta. My timer. Ein derech nisach bekach. It's not derech nisach to go ahead and do that. It's not derech nisach to go ahead and do that. Okay, the next piece of Gemara, I forgot to go ahead and put it in, but there's a picture here that might be helpful. Guys, look at the boards. You have boards going across. Underneath those boards, there's wine, there's grapes. Then you have one big board pressing down on that. And the way the koyach of the board to go down on that is turning that apparatus. Okay? So you're turning an apparatus that is pushing down. Again, if you have an article, it's right there. You have an apparatus that's pushing down on one cross beam that is going across beams, right? The one large beam is going across like this. Okay. Now, what's the mitzias? That's the mitzias of the case. And just two things. If the guy would go ahead and jump directly on the boards, not being soimich on the beam to go ahead and put down, that would be considered kocho. That would be considered his force. So he jumps on those beams that are going across. He jumps on them and pushes them down. That's kocho. If he would turn the apparatus, and the apparatus would go down and push it down, that's koyach koichai. His koyach to turn it, and the second force going down, that's koyach koichai. That's what we need for this Gemara. Ma'atzra, Zayara, that's the type of wine press that we're describing. Rav Papi Shari, Rav Papi says what? It's permitted. Rav Ashi Vitema Rav Simi Bar Ashi Asa, that if a goy is going ahead and using and doing this, so one says it's right, it's Asa, one says it's Muta. Now, B'koichai Kuliyam Alei Pligi de Asar. B'koichai, if the guy would jump directly onto those cross beams, that a few of them, and push down, everyone would say it's asa. That's koyach b'kavana. Ki pligi b'koyach koychai. Machlokes is if the guy turns the apparatus or not. Ikadi amri b'koyach koychai kol yam aloi pligi d'shari. Ki pligi b'koychai. Then the machlokes is what b'koychai. So according to the first lashon, it's a chumrah because everyone agrees koychai. According to the second lashon, it's a kula. That koychai everyone matters it, and the shayla is mat whether koychai is mutter or not, right? So what's the shayla? Ki pligi b'koyach koychai uvdi b'koyach koychai. There was a ma'ase b'koyach koychai where they turned it, and you wanted a taina that everyone holds that it's mutter, and the machlokes is by koychai. Not so. V'asa Rabbi Yaakov in our pocket, and he asked it. This is like the first lashon. Again, guys, first lashon. Everyone's moida if the guy jumps on it. Machlokes if he turns the apparatus. Second lashon, everyone is moida if he turns the apparatus. It's nothing. Why do they machlokes if the guy jumped on it? Here we have Rav Yaakov in our pocket saying if he turned the apparatus, it's asa. So obviously he's going according to the first lashon, not the latter. The latter lashon says everyone says koicha is mutta if you turn the apparatus. So asa Yaakov in our pocket, he says why it would be permitted. Hahu chavita amid base. There was this barrel, difgol archa, that it broke. It broke according to its length. It seems that you had this. It was a barrel of wine, and it split in the length, and now you had the two halves coming apart. So it split, let's say, down this way. Now the two halves are coming apart. Idriyahu oivikichavim, a guy jumped. And Chafka, and he grabbed and he put it together. He held the two sides together. Shaya Rafram Bar Papa, the Item Rav Huna Breda Rav Yeshua, Lazmuni Lev Dikacham. They said it's Mutta Bahana, you could sell it. And Bahani Mili, the Paka La'archa. That's only if it split down its length. Avalapusya. Guys, let's say this was the press and it split this way. And now it's coming out over here, and the guy sat down on it. So over here, the guy is keeping it together. Over here, the weight is kind of keeping it together, and the guy just sits down upon it. So if it's lepusya, if it splits according to what it's with, and the guy slept on top of it, afilu b'shtiya shari, even to drink it would be mutter. My taima, maisa levena ka'avid. He's just becoming what? He's doing a maisa levena, a maisa what of being a brick. Let's see Rashi here. The afke la'archa, it's split in its length. Kishhiya sheves zukufa nizdaka, it cracked milamayla lamata, from top to bottom. Ubikesh chetzia lipol elech v'chetzia lipol elech. Guys, look, you got to see us right. It's slipped from top to bottom, and it was going to go this way and this way. And the guy held it together, like he held it together. That's the first case. So they said it's chavka ben Yosef. He went ahead and with his arms he encircled it. The chibra acheviu kli, and he held it until they brought a kli. So they permitted all these amarayim l'zvune la'oivdei kechavim. That was mutter bahana. The loy shichshech, because the guy was not meshachshech. Va'afilu shekirav chatzayin zuluzu. V'avinagea b'yayin al yidei chatzoya chavius, loy havi kinagea b'kona. Now you say the following: by him putting this together, he's making it touch the wine. So what's it different than the guy putting a stick in wine if he's using a barrel to hold it together? So Rashi is addressing that. Again, Rashi, guys, the shichshuk going to if he puts the kana in, he may be meshachshek it. Over here, even though he's touching with the walls, he's not shaking it. He's just holding it together that the wine should come out. Therefore, it's mutter bahana. Aval if it splits in its width, it's not separated. So guys, if it splits down the middle from here to there, all the wine's lost. If it splits over here, the weight of this, the whole barrel is not open, so you may get a little leakage coming out, but not much, because again, you have the heaviness of the top half sitting on the bottom half. So in that case, all he's doing is he is enhancing the weight on top of it. And therefore, he won't touch it at all. So Elamaisa livni ba'al makavid kilvena, like a heavy brick, and a sunal piachavius umechabdasa. You put a brick on a barrel, it gives it weight. That's all this guy is doing. So this would be mutter afila b'shtia. He's not touching any wine over here whatsoever. He's not getting near it, and therefore a nice chilik between a barrel that splits this way versus a barrel that splits this way. And since we're talking about goyim, I don't know why I just did this, but anyway, that's why I did it below. Okay, just it should be chayshid me. I don't, you know. Okay, says the Gemara right. There was a case of a guy, the ishtakach the havikoi b'matzrata. They found him hanging around one of these apparatus wine press, right? They found it, and there was no wine anymore in there. But what you did have was the residue in the pit of the wine. So Amar Ravashi, if it's still the residue, if it's still so moist that if something touches it, it itself becomes moist, then to go ahead and what's required? Boy hadacha, you have to wash it out. Boy nigov, and you require nigov. Nigov is you have to put offer in and rinse it out, offer in and rinse it out. In other words, it's a much more cleansing process, because that's if the guy touched that, it would be necessary for kashrus reasons. The Eloi, but if it's so dry, the residue, that it won't make something else moist if it touches it. But it's enough again to rinse it out. It's totally cold. You don't have to worry about. And again, this is the lacha avad of cleaning out the wine press, and it will be okay. Okay, next Mishnah. You find the guy. Okay, so nothing's here. Okay, now we're up to the Mishnah on Samech Amid Beis. Mishnah on Samech Amid Beis. So now you have Oivik Yechavim Shenimtza Oimei B'Tzad Habar Shel Yayin. So this would appear to be pretty difficult situation. You have a guy, you have an open bar, similar to an open bar, and you have what? You'd have his capacity to go ahead and touch it very easily. What's the halacha? Listen to this. Im yesh loy milva alav. If the guy is a malva against the Jew, and this wine we're going to see is the apoitiki to collect his halva. In other words, the Jew owes him money. What's guaranteeing his loan? What's securing his loan? Is this wine. So im yesh loy malva alav asar. Then the wine would be what asa, because we're chayshid that what the guy will touch the wine. He'll touch the wine. Rashi, im yesh le'elav malveh al Yisrael asa lefish le'yara liga. He's not scared to touch it. The savar I amali midi amina lahu tanili b'chayvi. What's he going to say to me? You touched it. I'm going to say to him, so give it to me to pay up my loan. In other words, I you have a chiyuv to me. What are you going to accuse me of ruining your wine? Give me your wine, I'll take it, no problem. So therefore, but there's no laws. He has no skit. However, ein loy milva alav. However, if there is no milva, then what? Then it's mutter. Then the wine is going to be what? The wine will be mutter. Of course, we're scared. We assume that he's scared to touch it. We assume that why he's scared to touch it because he has no. In other words, the whole reason he'll touch it by the halva is because he tends to get it. But over here, if he touches it, it's going to cost him money, fellas. We said yesterday he's a mazik, right? We said yesterday he has to pay up. So if there's no reason for him to be there, we're not worried that he's going to touch it. Ein la milva lav muta. Nafal the bar. If the guy falls into the bar, the Allah, and he comes up, medadai bekana, or he's measuring it with a stick. Hitis esatzira bekana, or he goes ahead and there's a bug in the wine and he flicks it out with his finger or with a stick. Or he was tapping on the foam that was on top of the fermenting wine. All these cases happened. The Chacham said it's mutter b'hana. You can't drink it. It's mutter b'hana. You can sell it to anyone you want and get money. Rav Shimon said, right, it's mutter. Rav Shimon said in these cases, what it would be mutter. As long as you know that the guy did not go ahead and menasech and was mshachet the wine, he goes ahead what and he holds his mutter. Not the less achavius, who's zarka bechamasay lebar. If a guy he took a chavius, he took a barrel, a casket, and he threw it angry. He threw into the wine pit. Zayi ma'isa v'achshiroi. This was a ma'isa, and they said you could drink the wine. You could drink the wine. Okay, so let's go over the Mishnah now. Amashmuel, for who sheyesh le milva al oisa yayin. The Mishnah just says, fellas, he owes him, right? The Mishnah just says he owes him. He doesn't say that the wine is the apoitiki to collect from. Guys, remember, an apoitiki is the first mortgage. That's where you're going to apoitei. That's where you're going to collect from. This Mishnah is speaking where the guy has a lien on that particular wine, and therefore he's not scared to touch it. Amashmuel, v'hu sheyesh le milva alois yayin. Amar Ravashi, masnisa nami deka. The next Mishnah in Daf Samech Aleph will be meduyik as well. Ditnan. Hamitari yena shel oivei kichavim. Now, you going ahead, you are going ahead and you're pressing wine. You're going ahead and you're making wine. Where are you making wine? By a guy. So Yisrael he's using the wine press of a guy, and he's going to sell it to a Jew. You have to say that the wine press he kashered it and everything is not a problem. Tuma, and there's no guy involved in the process of the wine. It's totally made by the Jew. So Hamitari Yenish Oiv the Kechavim, a Yisrael that's going ahead and he's making wine, right? Using the grapes of a guy. But what's he going to do? So in other words, the guy is owed money because we're using his material, we're using his grapes. If the guy would do it, obviously a Jew can't do it. So you know what it's like? They rent out for Jewish wine. They go to certain countries, they rent out the place, they kasher the place up, they use the grapes of the guy, and they make kosher wine. This is Ma'aseh B'chol Yain. Guys, the Ma'aseh B'chol Yain. So now, v'noisnoi b'shusai, and once he makes the wine, he leaves the wine in the rishus of the guy. However, the mafteach of the wine, or the chaysem, or the key is in the hands of the Yisrael, that the guy is not able to go in there. So either there's a seal, a chaysem, Rashi says, or a peseach, or there's a key that the guy can't get to it. But it's in the rishus of the guy. V'halak chaysev loy. And the guy who's owed money for his material writes to the Jew, Hiskabalti mimcha mois. I received money from you. He hadn't yet, but he went ahead and he said that this wine belongs to you, right? This wine belongs to you. Mutta, you're able to drink this wine, and you're not choishes that the guy touched it, because he's scared that what? He's scared to touch it, because since, guys, he wrote already that it's paid for, since he wrote that it's paid for, if he messes it up, he's not going to get his money. Again, he wrote a receipt on money he hadn't received yet. He wrote a receipt on money that he had not received yet. And since he wrote that receipt, he's not going to touch this wine, because if anything happens to it, he's not going to be able to collect. If anything happens to it, he's not going to be able to collect. One more time, are we good? One more time. One more time. One more time. Jew is making wine using the grapes of a guy. The guy is owed money, therefore, for his grapes. The guy lets him keep it there, and not only lets him keep it there, he writes a receipt that he's paid for. You have no concern that the guy is going to touch it, because since he didn't receive, he's if he touches it, what's the Jew going to say? Bye-bye. Are you going to say, I didn't give you money? How about settle? I have it settled. It says, yeah, you did. I have it. I have that you said you did. So therefore it would be mutter. Avo, im yetzi Yisrael lo yitzia, right? If the Jew wants to take it out, right? And the guy says, listen, I'll let you keep it here, but if you want to take it out, I'm not letting you take it out until you give me money. The guy can do that. That was Maisa having Beit Shan, and they asked the wine. Timer, what's the reason they asked the wine? The Eimei Nichoi. Right. Then, since he didn't let him take it out, in that case, you worry that what? That this yayin, if it this wine, since he's not letting him take it out, it's meshubah to pay the chayiv. Guys, what do you see from this case? It's by him. He's not letting him take it out. Then what? It's asa. Why is it asa? Because since this wine is meshubah to the chayiv, he's not scared to touch it. Because if he does touch it, big deal. I'm getting get paid from this anyway. Good. That's your raya. Hamaniach shari. If the guy went ahead and he allowed him to go ahead, what? And take the wine out without paying, even though Yisrael is chayiv to the guy for this yayin. Shmamina malva ala isa yayin beinin. The guy is not choshit to touch it, only if what? If there was a shibud on the wine. He's only if there's a shibud on the wine. I'm not a 1,000,000% clear over here. I'm not. I mean. Let's see if Rashi helps me out a little bit. Down. The kivin the yeshlei milva aloisa yayin, since there's a milva on this wine, and therefore he's not letting him take it out. My deboy of it, what? He's going to do whatever he can to keep it. Aval milva she'ena aloisa yayin, but if the milva has nothing to do with this wine, kimi she'en lo yalav dami, the tani reisha, halay koisav leis kabalti mimcha moyes muta. Ayva hacha the yeshlei milva the mei hayayin alav ukatani the kivin the loy the lav al oisa yayin hu muta. I'm giving the lashon of Rashi, guys. I'm not clear. Basically, the raya is that if he has a shaykhus to this wine, he's going to touch the wine. If he has a shaykhus to this wine, he's going to touch the wine. Why? Because he has nothing to lose. If he has something to lose, he's not going to touch it. If he has nothing to lose, he's going to touch it. When does he have nothing to lose? If he has a shibud on the wine. So that's the case. That's the raya. Okay. Nafal lebar va'ala. He falls into the bar. Nafal lebar va'ala. So the guy falls into the bar. Amra papa loishanu that it's mutter b'shtia according to Reb Shimon, and it's mutter b'hana according to the Chanim. Ela she'ola mace. He comes up, he's dead. Aval ola chai, if he's alive, asa. My timer, Amra Papa, the dami Allah ki meidam. He survived the fall. What's he going to do? He's going to be menasech the wine, and he's going to thank, like he thanks his pagan god, he's going to thank him for surviving this. So, guys, the wine could be tummy shebetame. That's not a problem. You have a taita guy in a vat of wine. But again, unless you're muser on eating chulin b'tayra, it's not a problem. Again, Tumah only begins in the venue of Truma and Kodshim. People were makbid to eat their chulin al tayris kodesh, yeah. But in this case, people were not makbid. You have a dead guy, machneshlais. But if he's alive, he's going to do something to thank his God, and therefore it'll be asa. So we're qualifying the Mishnah. When it says he comes up, he comes up dead. Madu bekana, right? If you go ahead and you're madadu bekana, you're going ahead and you're measuring with a stick. You're measuring with a stick into the wine. You're measuring with a stick what into the wine. Kol elu hayamaisav ami macher, that you could go ahead and sell it. However, Shimon ma'ater even to drink it. So Amar Avodah Rabba yinuchaloi l'Reb Shimon b'rochesh shel roshei. Let brachas come upon the head of Reb Shimon, right? Mamishi a heta. Kashu mate afilu b'shtir. When he mate afilu b'shtir, kashu oyser afilu b'ano. So Amar Rav Chia b'rei Abba bar Nachmeni. Amar Rav Chisda Amar Rav. In other words, Reb Shimon, guys, didn't have this middle thing, guys. By Chacham, you have this middle area. You could sell it, but you can't drink it. Reb Shimon, atazoi, it's either way, you know. So let a bracha come upon his head. So Amar Rav Chia b'rei Abba bar Nachmeni. Amar Rav Chisda Amar Rav. The Imrila Amar Rav Chisda Amar Ziri. Halacha k'Reb Shimon. The halacha is like Reb Shimon that it's mutter b'hana. Yekid Yamri Amar Rav Chisda Amali Abba bar Chanan. Hachi Amar Ziri halacha Reb Shimon. So you have two tremendous amount of people saying halacha Reb Shimon. However, the Gemara says vein halacha Reb Shimon. I love that. Vein halacha is like Reb Shimon. Halacha is not like Reb Shimon. Okay. Natul chavius usraka b'chamasay lebar. The guy took some type of casket and he threw it into the pit. Be'anga zaha yemaisa. This is the maisa, and they were machsherit. That was the maisa, and they were machsherit. Okay. Amar Ravashi kol shebizov tami. We have anything that when a zav would touch something, it makes it tami. So you have a formula. If a zav would do something that we metame it, if a guy does the same action of touching, it would be a yayin nesach. But b'kechav may not say yayin nesach. Kol shebezav tar, but b'kechav may not say yayin nesach. Esrei Rav Ashi from our case. Not the lesachav yesus raka b'chamas lebar. The guy got angry. He threw it into the pit, and right. So he might say beit shamich shiroi. He said it's tonim muta. B'chamasay in shlei b'chamasay loy. But he's not angry. He would answer it. But 1 second, if a zav throws a casket into a pit of wine, it's not going to answer it. What's your rule of thumb? Anything that is of is tamei, this is tamei. Anything is tar is tar. So no. The only reason over here that it wasn't tamei is because that it wasn't the ayin nesach because he threw it in anger. Mashmi wasn't angry, he threw it in, it'll be tamei. But if it's zav, you threw it in, it'll be tar. So your formula doesn't go correctly. It says the Gemara, our formula is good, but here's the difference. Hasam over there, when the Mishnah says that if it's shalei b'chamasi, it's muta, it's the ka'asal minei uminei. When it moves constantly. It's hoyluchim is galgal akli kol shah al yedeshu midgalgalay umayrida lebar. The koyach of the goy is still in as it's going constantly. Hilkach shaloi b'chamasay loy the chashinin dilman naga. So it wouldn't be mutta because b'chayish what maybe that he touched it. And the mitzias is that it's moving in a way that perhaps what he touched it, and therefore it would be mashen kain. So if that was the case by zav, it also would be tamei if he's moving along with his hand. And we have to say Tehillim for Miriam Rus Bas Sarah. This is our Chavet Toiv, Meir Goritzman, Leilenu, his wife. I contacted this morning. He says he needed Sarch Rachmei Shemayim. That was his lashon. So Kuf Chaf Aleph. Here's some Fenecha. Adnei Alai V'Sai Shtisham Here Refuah Shnei Shemayim. Refuah Nefesh. Refuah Guf L'Chaylanis. Miriam Rus Bas Sarah B'So Shachol Yisrael. Shalom Alos Esai Na'Eloharim Meyayin Havayazri. Ezri meyim Adonai oisei shemayim v'aretz. Al yitin lema raglecha, al yanum shemrecha. Hinei lo yanum lo yishan shemer Yisrael. Adonai shemrecha, Adonai tzilcha al yad yaminecha. Yoyim Hashemesh lo yakeka b'yareach b'layla. Adonai yishmacha mikol ra yishmar es nafshecha. Adonai yishmar tzescha v'echa mi'atav olam. Kuf lamed. Shir hamalos mimakim karasicha Adonai. Adonai shema v'kali tiyenos necha kashuva es l'kol tachnanai. Im avonos tishmaya Adonai mi amod. Ki im echa aslicha l'manti varei. Kivisi Adonai kivsa nafshi v'liroy echalti. Nafshi l'Adonai mishamnim laboker shamnim laboker. Echal Yisrael ol Adonai ki im Adonai chesed rabei mafidos. V'hu yiftes Yisrael mikol of meinesav. Kuf mem beis. Maskil David Biosav Vamaras Fila Kali Elanayazak Kali Elanayas Hanan Espaich Lefanav Sichi Tsarasi Lefanav Agid Mr. Tefel Iruchi Vetoyadat Nasivasi Biorach Zu Alech Tanu Fachli Habeit Minure Veni Makir Avamos Mene the Resh Nafshi Sakli Alech Adonai Amatir Tamachsi Chelke Ber Sachayim Hakshiva El Rinasi Kidalo Semiod Hatzlin Refaikim Sumi Meni I'd see me asking Nafshi Lahodas Eshemecha Biach Tir Tzadikim Kisigmo Laloi Pei Gimel Shem is Maliasaf Elohim Adam Ilach Atech Rash Vatish Gadel Ki Hine Yevecha Yemoyin Mesnecha Nazaraish Al Amcha Yarimusod Biasatzvat Zvanecha Omaru Luchu Benachidim Goy V'lo Yisach Hashem Yisraelod Ki Nawasa Lev Dach Dabalecha B'Sach Reisu Olei Adam Yishmelim Mayavagrim Gevol V'Amayin V'Amalek Paleshus Myoshveitzar Gam Asher Nilva Imam Hayes Vayalef Nilai Selah Asay Lehem Ki Bidyan Kisisrach Yav Menachal Kishon Nishmedu Vein Dar Hayedem El Adama She say May Nidi Vein May Karei V'Chazei V'Chazei Achol Kasamana Kon L'Sichei May Asher Amru Nishal Lanu Es Nais Elohim Elohai Shesem Echak Agal Kekashat Nei Ruach Keish Tevayoch Lavat Lahid Arim Can't hear the famous Arachu B'Sfas Chas V'Aleim
Wait, that was your bad.
V'Alei Fneihem Kaloim V'Vashu Shemcha Adonai Yevoshu V'Yibalu Ad Yachbru V'Yavedu V'Yedu Ki Atosh Shemcha Nev'Lochianu Kol Haaretz Achenu Kaveis Yisrael Hanasuna Matzor V'Shivya Omden Bein Bayom V'Bein Bayabasha Hamakoyim Rachim Alayim V'Yetzim Yisrael L'Vachom Afelu L'Yara V'Meshiba L'Gula Hashta Baglos Makriv V'Nei Maramein Shiba Suris Taibas